I played the game and I enjoyed it. But now I don't enjoy it because I don't want to hurt my friends. I would still enjoy it if I fired it up right now. I would enjoy it. I would. But what I'm saying is, it don't sit easy with me if it bothers, if it hurts people. But here's the other thing. Like this has always been my stance. I'm always so suspicious of, and I guess it's just the way I'm set up. I'm always suspicious of people that want power over me, because that's what it feels like. And so I'm always questioning and double questioning and triple questioning in those situations. And I think that's healthy. Whatever conclusions you come to, it does say something about you. All right, we back. Episode 51, BS with Brian Simpson. Welcome back, everybody. Rob, when we're right, we're right. Last week we said, we were talking about the train derailing in Ohio, and the governor's telling everyone that it was safe. Well, one governor was saying it was safe to drink, it was safe to be there, and the other governor was saying, "Get the fuck out of here." And then I said this. It reminds me of that time. Remember when Obama like fake sipped that water in Michigan? It's like, no, this is all.
He did the classic like.
And then, lo and behold, just yesterday, what do you think happened? The governor of Ohio did the whole water drinking stunt. This son of a bitch. Held a press conference where people could see him drinking a glass of water. These motherfuckers are so predictable. It's kind of crazy. And I applaud him because I think he really did drink that glass of water. It definitely wasn't, I mean, maybe, who knows? But again, he doesn't live there. None of his family lives there. You know, so it's like long term. You know, that's what these people are worried about. You know, now could it be that people are conflating, or could it be that people are attributing? You know, what is it? Correlation with causation. You know, like maybe animals just so happen to be getting sick. You know, because that's what I'm hearing out of there, right? People's animals are getting sick, or people's kids are having diarrhea, or stuff like that.
Well, right. There's also there's going to be baseline rates of all those things, right? Animals die all the time. There's gross shit in our water all the time. Babies get diarrhea all the time. But the question is, how do you measure the current rates against baseline historical rates? Right. Right.
And the Ohio EPA, you know, so not federal, or is that just a sub, is that a federal agency?
No, there are state EPAs that interact with the federal EPA.
Okay, yeah, but I wouldn't trust this either.
Think of it like National Guard, right?
Oh, okay.
Where you have like a state National Guard. They're technically part of the U.S. Armed Forces,
so
but
it's a
they're controlled by the governor.
It's a federally funded state organization.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I wouldn't trust these motherfuckers. You know, let me get the federal up in there. Maybe, man, you know, it's getting to the point now, where we would need like some international. I mean, we're that country now. Yeah. Remember when other countries would be like, oh, we don't trust. Let's bring the United States in and tell us what's really going on. Like we would
like when the UN oversees
like
elections.
Yeah, shit like that. Now we need that. We need that ourselves. Where it's like, I don't trust any of these motherfuckers. You know, it's kind of crazy.
I need France to come in, Germany, Canada, but then have them come in and test the water.
But then we've already demonized like the World Health Organization and stuff like that, so maybe Americans won't even trust that. Yeah, man, I forget who said it, but the first thing to go is the truth. Like when war starts, or when the downfall starts, that's the first thing. People don't know what's true, what to trust. I definitely wouldn't trust this motherfucker though. You know what I'm saying?
The first casualty of war is truth.
Yeah.
Senator Hiram Warren Johnson.
Yeah, he's right about that shit. But I don't know, because again, I know I said that I would love to see him drink the water, and he did do that. But that's not enough for me. you know?
No.
I mean, let me see. I want to see you bathe in it. I want to see you cook with it. Move in. You know what I'm saying? Get a little condo down there.
He mentions that he has like 8 kids and like 26 grandkids or something like that. And it's like, move them there.
Yeah, but none of them.
Move them there. Yeah. Let your grandbabies drink the water and bathe in it for the next 5 years.
Yeah, he ain't gonna do that. I mean, who would do that? I wouldn't do that either.
Oh, I wouldn't do it either.
But that's because I don't trust. It's like, or here, what they would have to do? They would have to teach me how to test the water. Because that's what they're saying. They're saying they're testing the water at 500 homes or something like that, or the air quality. But it's like, teach me how to do it and give me some test kits.
Right.
Let me do it myself for me to trust what the fuck you talking about. Because here's the other thing, guys. Even if it's true, because this is another thing politicians like to do. They like to tell you the true positive thing or positive for them and leave out the truth that's negative. So they're telling you that they're testing the water and they're testing the air and there's no sign of contamination. But the big part they're leaving out is that this shit is in the ground. Because they haven't told you what they got from testing the dirt. Because that's the problem, right? This shit is leaked into the soil, and they're hoping and praying that it doesn't reach the water supply. But they know that it's pretty much inevitable. I mean, I don't know what's beneath where hope maybe there's bedrock under that motherfucker or something. But and they're not talking about that because either it's never going to happen, it's going to happen in hundreds of years, or it's inevitable and it's going to happen like soon. But that's the big scary thing, because once the shit hits the water supply, it's in there.
I think it's also, it is inevitable and it is going to happen soon, but the question is, what is the extent to which it will, because everything's poison at a high enough dose, right? So they're concerned about keeping the dosage of all that shit as low as possible.
Yeah, they want the
below
parts
quote
per
unquote
million.
dangerous level. Right.
They want the parts per million to be as low as possible, right?
But eventually, it's like how we talked about the microplastics in the past, where like there's microplastics in rainwater in like the Amazon where nobody's ever lived, right?
Yeah, it's amazing to me though that no one's gonna go to prison over this. That's what's so fucking frustrating to me. Where it's like, cause I tell you what, Rob, if I took an eyedropper with some of this, what's it called, vinyl chloride. If I took an eyedropper with some of this vinyl chloride, and I dripped a few drops in the governor's drink, they would take me to prison. But if I take a fucking train full of the shit and dump it in the dirt beside the water supply, it's just an act. It's like that. No, it's nobody's fault. No one's responsible. Just a freak accident, couldn't have been avoided. That's like, it's crazy to me like that. Where it's so wild that we live in a society where like killing a bunch of people gets you treated better than if you kill 1 or 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or attempt to.
Have you ever heard of the Cuyahoga River fire?
Nope. Cuyahoga River fire. Nah. Learn me.
So Cuyahoga River was, I believe it went through Cleveland. I'm looking it up right now. So they used to dump so much shit in the Cuyahoga River that it caught fire about 12 times before they finally decided to pass laws preventing people from dumping toxic waste and industrial runoff into it. it goes back to what we were talking about last week, where when the cheap thing is always the thing that people do, unless you pass a law preventing them from doing it.
All right. Like, well, when the better thing loses money, it's not gonna happen unless there's a laws, you know. Well, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, speaking of which, Hogwarts Legacy. You playing that shit, Rob?
I am not playing.
You playing
Hogwarts
that shit?
Legacy.
You a transphobe? Because that's what it means. Did you know that?
I don't think that's what it means, but I'm not playing.
That's what I'm being
Hogwarts
told.
Legacy.
That's what I'm being told. I mean, so I was not aware of the controversy until my character was like level 32 or something, or 28. Because I pre-ordered, and keep in mind, here's the other thing too. I'm not a Harry Potter person. In fact,
You pre-ordered it?
the day before, because I knew I was going to buy it once I saw all of the reviews. But
I'm almost more disappointed in you for that, Brian.
no, why? No, hold
Never
on,
pre-order.
wait a minute. Let me explain. The Epic Game Store on PC had an exclusive where you got to play it like a week before everyone else. So I guess it's technically a pre-order, but I got to play it like the moment I ordered it. So it wasn't like I didn't order it like months or weeks ahead of time. But
Okay.
so that's why I didn't know about the controversy. I was playing it a week before most other people, or maybe it was 3 days. Okay. Maybe it wasn't a week, but it was before everyone else. And then shit started coming up like, if you play this game, it popped up on my YouTube recommendations like, if you play this game, you hate trans people, you're anti-Semitic, you're homophobic, and you're pro-slavery. Those are the takes that I saw, and I was like, I don't see it. Well, okay, now, so also understand this.
You don't see it? Come on, Brian.
Hold on. Also understand this. I am not a Harry Potter person. In fact, I have someone gifted me the collection, and I'm only like halfway through the second movie, so I'm not in. It wasn't part of my childhood or none of that shit. But I don't see the anti-Semitic thing. I guess I see the slavery angle because these house. What do they call them? House.
Wait, hold up. You don't see the anti-Semitic thing?
No.
With the goblins that run the banks?
But how are they Jews? Because they run the banks?
If you look at a drawing of a goblin, look at their character designs and look at anti-Semitic.
So are goblins anti-Semitic, or what is specific?
Goblins are anti-Semitic in a lot. Goblins are anti-Semitic in a lot of fiction. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Is it anti-Semitic simply because there are goblins in the game, or because none of the wizards in the game were like, oh, the goblins that killed Jesus or whatever. You know what I mean?
No, it's not that obvious.
Because I feel like we do that with every like in Star Trek, they try to say the Ferengi was the Jews. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that idea is anti-Semitic because I think it's mostly because they run the banks that people are like, oh, this is anti-Semitic. But it's like, isn't that you making that? Like, remember, like here's the other thing. Remember Cuties? Remember when Cuties came out? The controversy.
Yeah.
And it was like people were like, this is sexualizing children, and I was like, well, no, I think that's you doing that. I think you're doing it. Because nobody else saw this and thought sexual. I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch it. But it was before it got here. That wasn't part of the problem. So I don't know. I mean, like I told you, me just watching it with a blank slate without any idea of the controversy, I wasn't playing the game and then went, oh wow, that's they seem very Jewish. You know what I mean? Like I didn't make that connection at all. I didn't feel that whatsoever. The transphobe thing, I think that's more to do with J.K. Rowling. There's no transphobia in the game. In fact, I think there's trans characters in the game.
There's a trans character in the game.
There's a trans character, but then I also think it's kind of
whose name is Sorona.
I think it's kind of weird to, and here's the other thing. I've only read that. I'm guessing they mean the bartender at a bar and everything. But that's just because it's a lady's face with a deep voice. I got, because I didn't see anybody's genitals, so I don't know
Right.
how they know that person's supposed to be trans, or if it's just a lady with a man's voice. But
Well, they added. My understanding is that they added a trans character in order to deflect the
J.K. Rowling shit.
the criticism of J.K. Rowling.
Okay, and here's the other thing too. What was it? What was the other thing? Oh, pro-slavery. Now that's a tough one, because again, without me having any real Harry Potter deep background shit, these house elves, are they house elves? Are they elves?
Yes.
Or are they're house something?
House elves.
House elves. So these house elves, they're definitely slaves, for sure. I mean, but they like it.
But that is the pro-slavery argument that people used to make. Is like, black people like it. Black people are made for it.
It's real close to saying house nigga, isn't it? I mean, but yeah, I mean.
Wait. We should be clear here. The premise, the central hook of the game is that you are charged with putting down the slave revolt.
That is not true. I mean, look.
No.
I mean, maybe, but I've played a significant amount of this game. Like I said, I'm like level 28 or 32 or something like that.
Hey y'all, Rob here with a quick interjection. Brian is correct here that the central storyline is not about a slave rebellion or a house elf rebellion. It's about a goblin rebellion. My assertion was based off of incorrect reports from before the game's release. Thanks.
And there is a mystery unraveling right now, but I have not come to that point where I haven't seen that, and nor does it feel like it's working towards that. But maybe it is. Maybe the house elves are rebelling, but it seems like the goblins are the ones cooking up some shit. So
those sneaky Jews with all the money cooking up some shit.
Yeah, but again, I think the anti-Semitic thing is a huge leap.
I strong disagree with you.
Okay, I'll put it to you like this. Let me rephrase this. Like, because this feels like people going. How do I put this? This feels like people grasping for straws. They're because here's the thing: when people don't like you, this is what people do nowadays, is they try to cancel you. If that doesn't work, because it never works really, they try to make you radioactive. In other words, they try to make it so that being near you or associated with you, it rubs off on those people, right? Because here's the truth. This is the truth about all this. At one point, J.K. Rowling was an LGBTQ hero, right? Remember when she said Ganondorf was gay? Or not Ganondorf.
Not Ganondorf.
What she said?
Like Dumbledore.
Dumbledore was gay, and everybody was like, oh, fuck, I love this bitch. And here's the truth. How many of the books was out by then in the movies? All of them, right? Or maybe most of them. And
well, you're wrong. You're wrong about something here, Brian.
What's that?
I don't want to step on whatever point you were making, but there were a lot of people that gave pushback against her that said that she was full of shit. That you don't get to come back. I'm talking about people who were I'm talking about queer people, and I'm talking about queer allies who were
sure
saying
there were.
like, no, bullshit.
Sure there were. There always is. But the vast majority of people love her, right? And the point I'm trying to make is all of these other things other than her transphobia, all of these other things they existed in the Harry Potter world before this, back then, and you ain't have a problem. Like no one was saying it was anti-Semitic.
No bullshit, dude. That's not true. Plenty of people were saying that back then. Yes,
I didn't hear I didn't hear none of this.
Plenty of people.
I didn't hear none of this when the movies was coming out.
Here, I can speak on this from personal experience because I don't fuck with Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter sucks. I think that the books suck. Actually, I take that back. The first book is a decent. It's a B+ children's book.
See, I haven't read any of the movies. The first movie was aight.
I think the movies are fucking boring. I think that the world building sucks. Now, I was a little bit too old when they came out, so like I wasn't reading children's books at the time.
Yeah, I
'cause
think we're in the same boat there. And
Yeah.
and I think Harry Potter is he's such a poorly written character because he doesn't learn anything.
No, he sucks.
Like every lesson he learns. I mean, this is me halfway through the second movie, but every lesson he learns is just that he was already great. Like everything he tries, he's just great at it already, and he just has to believe. Which I guess that's what children's books are. Just believe in yourself, Harry.
But even when I was a kid and those books were coming out, there were plenty of people who were calling out the fat phobia, the anti-Semitic tropes, a lot of the problematic.
Well, listen, I'm not saying you can't find
ideas about it.
I'm not saying you can't find a single person or even a handful of people, but I'm talking about the huge wave of public backlash didn't exist. Sure, there's always going to be activists that call shit out or what have you, but what's happening now? A lot of the same people that loved Harry Potter before the transphobia didn't have a problem with any of this other stuff. You know what I mean?
I have a question though. How many of those people? What portion of those people were literal children when these books?
I have no idea, man. Because somehow Harry Potter just passed me by. Like I just wasn't. You know, I wasn't in the group of children that was into it. You know, I didn't know anybody that was into it. It wasn't until like maybe the fourth or fifth movie, like when I was an adult and I met other adults that were like excited about these movies.
I mean, that's pretty cringe.
I mean, they grew up on them. You know what I mean?
I know, I get it.
But I was just not connected to it at all. You know, it wasn't something me and my. I don't even know how old I was when the first movie came out.
When the first movie came out, first Harry Potter movie, Philosopher's Stone. Let's see. The first book came out in '97. So I was
15.
I was 12. I was a little bit too old for it. My brother was the right age for it. My brother's 3 years younger than me.
Yeah, so the first movie couldn't have come out until like 99, right? Or 2000.
So the first movie came out in 2001.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Well, so there was a pretty short period between when the first book came out and because they pretty much there was a bidding war on the first book, and part of it was that I think it was Scholastic wanted a franchise, and then they immediately packed once the book was a success because it was a huge PR marketing push for it. And if you remember, like people used to line up around the block to get the book at the bookstore the night that it came out.
No,
right?
I don't know anybody that did that.
I didn't know a lot of people who did that, but I mean that was definitely a thing that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, like I said, I was not even aware of it. Like I don't know where I was when all of this was happening, but or maybe it was just one of those things that like it wasn't like a mainstream in the black world, black children. Because I don't even remember people I was going to school with or nothing. I don't remember nobody talking about that shit.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that was another big thing about J.K. Rowling being racist was that for a long time there was like sort of a fan canon, that Hermione was black, and that split the fan group because a lot of white fans did not like the idea that Hermione would be black.
Well, none of them are black, right? None of the main characters are black, right?
I mean, but it's a book. You can. I don't want to get into that whole thing because people are going to be mad about it.
Because listen, let's focus on the main point here. Yeah. Is it immoral to play this video game?
Immoral? I don't know if that's the right framing.
Is you playing this video game? Does it mean that you are homophobic? That you support homophobia, anti-Semitism, slavery, etc.
No.
Because that's the point I'm trying to get at. It's like, you know, I because I'm torn a bit because I do believe that how you spend your money is really one of the only real powers that you have. You know, it's your only real little, it's your most influential action that you take in the world. It's how you spend your money.
In our society.
Yeah, it's probably right in our society. It's definitely more influential than your vote, I would argue. Probably. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Because money talk, bullshit walk. That's a saying that's older than me. So. But the problem is, where is this money going? Or where would the money be not going if you didn't spend it? If you were to protest this game, where would your money not be going? Or if you buy this game, where does your money go? And are you comfortable with that? You know, am I comfortable with J.K. Rowling getting $2 out of the $60? And everyone else that put their hard work into the game getting the rest of the money? Actually, that's not true. We know the developers getting like most of the money. But
yeah, the developers already been paid.
Right. But or am I, that's what I'm saying. It's like, is the protest me not playing this game, and J.K. Rowling doesn't get $2 of my bucks? And I'm guessing she's already been paid too. Let's separate two things.
Let's separate out two different things here. One of them is, I think, to your first question, does it make you immoral? Does it make you a transphobe? Does it make you X, Y, and Z to play this game? I would tend to say no on that, because you can, everybody's fave is problematic, and you can pick apart any piece of media. But I think I think what is frustrating to a lot of trans people is that people who call themselves allies, which that's a higher bar than just not being a transphobe, right? There's a lot of people who claim to be allies, but then have to twist themselves in knots to give themselves an excuse to play the fucking wizard game. Now, I'm in an easy position because I don't fucking give a shit about Harry Potter anyway, so I was never going to play the game. So it's an easy choice for me to make, to say, well, people are saying, friends of mine are saying that they don't fuck with Harry Potter. I don't fuck with Harry Potter anyway, but it's easy for me to say I'm not going to play the game.
So here's my next question. To what does allyship mean? Okay, because to it's like, what extent will you take that? It's like what control over your life are you willing to let your trans friends exert for you to be ally enough?
Well, it's not control. It's not control, because I still have it in my power. I mean, if I wanted to play the game, there's nothing they could do to stop me. They can't control me in that way.
Yeah, true.
All they can really do is they can share how my actions might make them feel. And one way that this was explained to me was, it's not about like getting bennies or like getting your ally badge or whatever, but it's like, it's kind of a wake up call thing where when somebody, if they were to tell a friend of theirs, hey, it really makes me, like, this game makes me uncomfortable, like J.K. Rowling is like Queen Turf. I don't like the idea of putting money in her pocket. I don't like that Harry Potter is associated with her, X, Y, yada, yada, yada. And then somebody says, yeah, but I'm still going to play it because X, Y, and Z. That is a communication to them like, okay, well, maybe I can't really trust you, right? So I'm not controlling you. I'm not telling you can't play the game, but it might change the way somebody views you.
Yeah, but
right?
But my point is the game does not directly affect trans people, right? Because if that's the case, it's like, what if my trans friends come and go, Dave Chappelle said he's Team Turf, so like, I would love it. When you watch Netflix, it makes me feel a certain way. I would like it if you canceled your Netflix, but if you don't, that's fine. But then I know I can't trust you. It's like to what because to me, it's like, to what extent am I willing to do? Because I get it.
It's always going to be a gray area, right? And the reality is that what we're talking about right now is Hogwarts Legacy, right? We're not talking about Netflix necessarily, and also like nobody, as far as I know, has said, "Hey, you can't play any WB games," because WB is. Harry Potter is a WB franchise, and when you
also this is the first WB game that's any good. To be honest with you, no, that's not true. Arkham was, a lot of people played that. I didn't, but no, I get it. But I think, like I said, I think you have to decide for yourself. It's like, I don't want. I would not like to do direct harm to any marginalized group. But I think what video games I play, I think that's a little silly. Now it would be different if, like I said, if someone directly involved with the game was some kind of, anti-Semite or something of that nature. But I think as a stretch.
Why would that make it different, though?
What do you mean?
Why, like if the game was exactly the same, but it turned out that the lead designer on it was a card-carrying Nazi. Why would that make a difference?
Because I feel like you're putting money right in his pocket.
Well, but you're also putting money in J.K. Rowling's pocket.
I think J.K. Rowling already got paid.
Well, but she is also. We don't know what the actual
terms of her deal.
Terms of her deal are, but I do know that she does get a piece of every single piece of Harry Potter merchandise that's sold at Universal Studios. She gets a piece of every ticket that's sold for Universal Studios, where the Hogwarts experience is, whatever the hell it's called.
So like, would I need to not go to Universal Studios to be an ally?
I don't know. I don't think that's
my point, though.
Okay, but I'm not in charge of whether or not you get to be an ally. I personally wouldn't go to Universal Studios and put money in this bitch's pocket.
Yeah, but like I said, because here's the other thing too. You already wouldn't do that anyway, right? Like, you're not looking forward to going to Universal. It's not like something you're giving up. That's what I'm saying. It's like, because it's easy to stand. It's easy to stand on the sideline and tell other people to give up stuff when it's not something you have to sacrifice, right?
Well, that for Universal Studios, that is something that I would normally do, because I do like theme parks, and I have gone to Universal Studios in the past. I've gone to Disney World in the past, or Disneyland in the past.
Because
that would be.
What this reminds me of? Because I remember when the Cosby shit came out.
Yeah.
Right, and people were like, this and this and that, and Cosby's an awful person, blah, blah. And then I remember saying to a group of, I guess I would describe as progressive friends. Mm-hmm. I was like, David Bowie was a statutory rapist, but I know he's your favorite. and then it's like, oh well, that's different, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, it's different because you have to give something up. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, it's easy for you to tell me that, to just don't do something I enjoy for you to feel better. Or you'll feel better if I don't do this thing I enjoy. Because it's not anything that you would have done anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, but the moment that it costs you something, then you start making, and I guess that's what I'm doing too. I guess that goes back to your regular point, where it's like, because it's something I'm enjoying, I'm willing to do the mental gymnastics to not feel bad about it. But I would also say that I think you would do the same. I think you're doing the same. If this is something you don't give a fuck about. So
well, right, but so I guess the better way would be like, because I was trying to think of this the other day. I was like, admitting that it's easy for me to not buy a Harry Potter game because I wasn't going to buy it anyway. But what could there be where it would be real hard
I don't
for
know,
me to.
but bro, this is actually a real life example because I just got off the road, so I haven't played the Harry Potter. I haven't played it since I played the fuck out of it for like 3 days, but this happened to me, and it's not even something that I need to finish. But I was someone got me into Ender's Game as an adult. This was like this was my 20s. It was like a Ender's Game super fan. And at the time, there were 11 books. And I was on book 7. And it was physical books. I was carrying them with me everywhere. And I was on the 7th book. And here's the other thing too. This person, so the books didn't come out in chronological order, but this super fan was like, "Yo, you need to read them in order. Like read them in this way, not the way they came out." I was like, so they're guiding me through this. I'm on book 7, and somebody tells me that I forget the name of the guy that wrote the books. But somebody tells me, "Oh yeah, that dude was
Orson Scott Card."
Orson Scott Card. They tell me, "Oh, that dude was a fucking racist." And I was like, "What?" And they showed me all. I was like, "Oh man, that's too bad." But I'm definitely gonna finish these books though. You know what I mean? I'm 7 books in. I've invested weeks of my life into this story. It's like, I'm gonna see how the story ends. You know what I mean? Now maybe that's different too because I wasn't actually buying the books.
Is it that he was a racist or that he was a homophobe?
Oh well, both for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean he, and I guess it comes out when you read the books a bit.
Yeah.
But not really. But when you read some of the stuff he said, like in real life, it's like it's definitely true. But I didn't know that till I was 7 books in. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
right.
So if I finish this story, am I pro racism?
No, but also can't you just get used books of him, finish out the series? And
well,
then these money in his pocket.
These weren't his books. These were somebody. I mean, these weren't new books. They were the books of the person getting me to read them.
Right. So you're not putting any money in his pocket.
Yeah, but still, I mean, because if that's the thing, because it's like, it's too late to refund the game. So I could justify it that way and go, well, the money's already spent. I might as well finish the game. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But
did you really convince yourself with that argument, though?
I could, yeah. I could do that. I could convince me.
Yeah, I could.
I don't think I would convince anybody else.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's also...
Or you know what? I could just publicly be like, you know what? I refuse to play this game. Fuck J.K. Rowling and her homophobic, transphobic bullshit, and then go secretly play the game. I think that's what a lot of people. I think that's what a lot of people are doing.
That's some real fuck shit right there.
That's what a lot of these people are doing. Because, like I told you, you can see the numbers on Steam. On PC, for sure there are tens of millions of people playing this game.
Yeah.
And if you and I wouldn't even say most of the people, but a good portion of those people are publicly pretending like they aren't. Because here's the thing: I don't have a stake in the race. It is a great game mechanically and all of that. The story is, I think it's a little slow paced, but the gameplay is awesome and all of that. But I try to play all the big games that come out a little bit at least. But I'm not a Harry Potter person. But I know people are like, I'm a Harry Potter person. Like, I do everything Harry Potter, and I need this. I know people that have that. I don't need to play the game. I don't need Hogwarts Legacy. But I can't imagine people that are this invested in that world. It's not something that I'm invested in. So I don't know if I can judge the people that want to, I don't know what it is, tap into nostalgia or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people who now are reassessing even the original books, they were children when they came out, and so they were into them because this was what was pitched to their age group, and they grew up with the books. Yeah, and a lot of people, when you grow up with a franchise, you project a lot of your own values onto the franchise. Right? That's one of the reasons why the real smart authors just shut the fuck up so that you can just believe that they think exactly the same way that you think because you like their books.
Yeah.
Right? But then now that they're older, I know a lot of people who grew up with Harry Potter and love Harry Potter, but are really critically reassessing the entire franchise. And
to what
not
end?
playing.
To what end?
To the end of, I think we should always critically assess the media that we consume. And we should also definitely reassess the media that you grew up with because, like you're talking about with Orson Scott Card's work, which Ender's Game, like I liked Ender's Game when I was a kid. I read that when I was a teenager, and it wasn't my favorite book, but I really liked it.
Did you read them all?
I didn't read them all. No, I've read Ender's Game, Speaker of the Dead, whatever, like the first 3, I think, where I think I've read those and I liked them, but I didn't like them so much that it was like when I found out Orson Scott Card was a homophobe, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But when you then critically reassess those books, you do see those themes come out in the books themselves. You know?
Yeah. I think all of the classic authors were problematic in some way.
Sure.
Right. So
yeah,
it's like so you have to like pick and choose. Again, I think it boils down to
once they're dead, it makes it a little bit easier.
It makes it a little bit easier to what?
Because what's his face? H.P. Lovecraft ticks every box. He was a homophobe. He was a racist. He was a misogynist. Yada, you go down the line, but he's been dead for decades. So read all his books that you want. Who fucking cares? They're in the public domain. You're not putting any money in his pocket.
But is it
like,
does
like
it
to go
does
back
it,
to your David Bowie thing? Do you think like imagine being a huge fan of David Bowie and then it comes out that he like fucked like a 13-year-old or something, right? Or multiple, and then you're like, oh shit, I can't listen to David Bowie anymore. And then you're such a fan, you're like excited when he dies so that you can buy his shit all over again without putting money in his pocket.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people struggle with that. I mean, but also that girl, he was on trial for statutory rape. But that girl was like, I'm fine. I mean, she's obviously in her 50s now or something. So
yeah, if you're going to be statutory raped, then David Bowie's definitely who you'd want to do it, I guess.
I suppose so. You know, I don't have the details of the whole experience, but I don't know anyone that stopped listening to him. In fact, every single one of those people I was talking to was like, oh, that's different, you know. I mean, it is different than drugging and raping people, you know.
Sure, yeah,
but I don't mean different in that way. I just mean, you know, the same people that got a problem with Karl Malone being at the All-Star Weekend give David Bowie a pass because they like David Bowie and they don't even watch basketball. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about with the Karl Malone thing. I mean, I know who Karl Malone is, but I don't know about the kerfuffle around him being
Karl
the All-Star
Malone
game.
was a judge at the NBA All-Star Weekend dunk contest. And every time Karl Malone comes around, which is very rare, it comes up that like he impregnated a 12-year-old girl.
Jesus Christ.
When he was in college. And on top of that baby he didn't acknowledge was his until it was already like 18 or 20 or something like that. So every time he comes around, it comes up. Now,
okay,
I don't know. This is just what I hear. He won't speak on it. Mm-hmm. There are people that defend him that say the story is embellished or what have you, but he never faced any legal ramifications. And most people involved in the NBA don't seem to care.
Right.
They just kind of talk around it, you know? So, but it's more than a rumor. It's not like, oh, I just heard. But I have no idea what what of the details of it all are true. Are you looking it up right now? I can tell by that look on Rob's face. He's disgusted. You see that?
No, my hands are still. I'm taking it all in right now. I'm not familiar with this at all.
Yeah, but it's almost like they always give it a few years for people to forget, and then the NBA sort of like sneaks him back around, and then people make a noise about it, and they go, all right, go away.
I mean, that's with every celebrity, right? Like every celebrity that gets, I don't even want to call that getting canceled or whatever, but like every.
Let's call it being put on timeout. Every celebrity that gets put on timeout.
Yeah, put on timeout.
Yeah.
And then they try to sneak back in, and then sometimes it works. Sometimes they come back and people are just distracted by something else, and so they get back in and their career starts up again. And sometimes they don't time it right, and they get bopped on the nose again, and they got to go back into timeout for a little bit.
But you know what amazes me though is I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. In the comedy world, the most consistently, how do I want to word this? The least forgiven comedian did not do the worst thing, right?
Use names. Who are you talking about?
Steve Renazizi. There's a comedian named Steve Renazizi. He got in trouble because he lied about being in the Twin Towers on 9/11 on a podcast like 12 years ago or something like that. And every single time this guy tries to do anything, the comments are flooded with people that either making 9/11 jokes or just straight up being like, yeah, but you lied about it. You know what I mean? Like you would think, what I mean is there are other people that have been accused of way worse that got to bounce back. This dude has never bounced back.
Uh-huh.
And they won't let it go. Like no one will let it go. He's funny. He's a good dude. He's a cool dude.
Why did he lie about that? What a stupid thing
I
to lie
don't know.
about.
I think he got, I've never asked him about it directly, honestly. But I think he just got caught up in the moment. He was around people. This was when podcast was like just now coming out and whatnot. And I think he just wanted to tell a good story, But I'm sure his apology's online somewhere. I'm sure he'll explain why he lied. But it has to be something like that. Like I just got caught up. I wanted to tell a dope story. Blah 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 blah. But I mean,
this dude was born on Independence Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that somehow makes it worse.
I know it's a little too on the nose.
But my point is like the reason you have no idea who he is, because he's a funny guy, he's a cool dude. He was on that show, The League.
Yeah.
Like a big show. And then everyone else that was on that show went on to have they got bigger after that. And they just won't let this man live. And I don't get it. I don't get it. It's like nobody's really willing to forgive the guy. Like more people forgave Cosby, Louis, D'Elia. It's like, and I don't think any of the things they were accused of are way worse than what he did.
You think? Maybe you're saying that the things that they were accused of are worse.
Right. But there's something about lying. I don't know. I guess there's something about 9/11 that I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's partly because it's 9/11.
Because there's what I'm saying is
Americans have like a weird fucking thing with 9/11. Obviously.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, regardless of whether you believe, because all those people I named, regardless of whether you believe whether they were guilty of something or how horrible you rate whatever they did, or whether you think it was nothing or whatever, that's not the point. The point is there is no victim in this Renazizi case. Nobody lost anything. Nobody was harmed or damaged. But and they act like this motherfucker, like I don't know. They act like.
But who's they in that? You mean like whenever? Because from my perspective, it's like it's not like he was I like the league. It's a funny show. I think he was good in this show, but I'm not super familiar with his comedy or anything like that. And looking back at like the articles online now about it, like I vaguely remember something about this, like when it happened. But I mean, this was a long time ago. But I don't know. I guess it's hard to really piece out.
Because you're saying
it's hard. It's
because he was never huge.
He was never some huge guy. He was never some killer that everybody was like, "Oh, Steve Renazizi is the next."
Oh yeah. But that you don't have to be that. Like what I mean is look up the cast of the league. Pull it up.
I looked up that Karl Malone thing. It was actually Bonita Ford. She had twins at 13, and then there was another one, Gloria Bell, and he impregnated her at 13. And
no, he impregnated her at 12. She had the babies at 13.
13, right? And then that baby went on to go to the NFL.
Yeah, that baby played in the
Demetrius Bell. Yeah. And
all right, I have
Pete Davidson is the
league.
one that really put the fire under him because he was like, "Fuck him! I can't believe he said that." My dad, he was a fire.
Oh, put the fire under Renazizi?
Yeah. When it came up again.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Okay, so the league. What about it? I'm looking at the cast right now.
So look at the other people on the cast. Name their names.
Mark Duplass.
Okay, I don't know him. I have to see his face.
Mark Duplass went to my high school.
Okay, but what did he do afterwards? Like, what's his filmography?
He's done a lot of stuff because he's one half of the Duplass brothers.
Okay.
So they did Safety Not Guaranteed, Creep, which is a good movie.
After the league.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So name somebody else in the cast.
Nick Kroll.
Okay,
probably Nick Kroll and Paul Scheer are probably the two most successful afterwards.
Yeah, and then so that's my point. My point is, none of those people are crazy famous, but they're super successful within the business because they weren't cut off at the fucking knees. Like because that's one of those situations where it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be one of the biggest comics in the world or a household name, but you definitely going goddamn. You're gonna be real good. After he's the only person from that cast that isn't doing way better afterwards. Maybe he isn't doing way worse. He didn't lose everything, but they definitely. It's like the business definitely stopped fucking with him the way they fuck with all the rest of them people.
I can believe that,
and maybe it's because he wasn't huge.
Yeah,
and because they.
Once again, it's. That's not a hard decision to make if it's between two people at his. There are lots of other comedians that were at his level that didn't have this story hanging over their head, this controversy hanging over their head.
Right.
So if you're the casting director and you're like, well, we can go with this guy or we can go with this guy. This guy's got the weird 9/11 thing. This guy doesn't.
Right.
It's not. Whereas when we talked before about Cosby touring again, like that's going to put people are going to make money off of that if he does it. If Louis C.K. goes on tour again, people make money off of that. If Aziz Ansari goes on tour again, people make money off of that. So that's a harder decision for people to make if they can make money off of it.
It's like the bigger you are, the harder it is to actually cancel you. Like short of you going to prison.
Right, because it's not just because. If you remember Mario Batali used to do Molto Mario?
Oh yeah.
He's a chef. He got in trouble for basically like sexual assault, and he was exonerated in court. Like he was not guilty for the sexual assault in court, but he never really came back after that. He just like went off with his money and lived a private life or whatever. But it's like when he got canceled, it's not just him, it's all the people around him that like worked on his show, booked his tours, all that kind of stuff. But that's a hard thing because he was a huge name.
I remember that guy. I remember that name. Yeah. It's like Weinstein, like, I guess this brings it kind of full circle. Because is there like a comprehensive list of Weinstein movies out there? Weinstein Company movies?
Harvey Weinstein?
Is he? Yeah, is his company still producing movies?
He was he Miramax? He was Miramax, right? Miramax is Miramax still around? It's done, right?
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's done.
According to my wife, it's gone.
It's gone. Well, how do you feel about people buying Weinstein movies? Or
How do I personally feel about it?
well, first of all, hold on. I think the average person has no idea which is which until they like. It's like because Weinstein's one of those things where like until you see it pop up on the screen, you're not like, oh, this is a Weinstein. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do?
Right.
I mean, do you go in and toss out your physical media collection? Do you delete shit out of your?
I think that's I don't think that really helps anybody to just throw out shit that you already own. I think that and obviously all this stuff is gray area, so people can make arguments for each individual piece of media for or against it or whatever, but I think generally it makes more sense to focus on, does it enrich this person? Does it and it doesn't have to be direct, obviously, for that. So, for instance, like to go back to the J.K. Rowling thing, even if J.K. Rowling didn't make any more money, like she'd already been paid out for Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Right.
I can understand.
And I've already
bought
the game, which I cannot return.
Well, wait, no. Let's say you hadn't already bought the game. Let's say one had not already bought the game.
Okay.
Right. Somebody hasn't already bought the game, and somebody says, "Hey, you probably don't play that game because that's a J.K. Rowling thing, and she's a TERF and a transphobe." And then somebody says, "Well, she's already been paid." Let's assume that's the case for a second. You could make the argument like, yeah, you're not putting money directly in her pocket, but by consuming Harry Potter stuff, like that's a very active franchise right now that's actively promoted by WB. Like, I just don't think you should contribute to the continued like cultural importance of this thing, because she is still making money off of Harry Potter, even if some amount of money from the $60 for the game doesn't go into her pocket, you're still promoting her brand.
Right.
I can understand that argument. You know, it's a little bit more indirect, but obviously I think direct is worse.
But also, isn't WB, like the fact that they even have a deal with her, isn't that a statement?
I would say, yeah. Now, the reality is that if they stopped making money off of Harry Potter, which won't happen, but I'm saying if they did, like the only thing that would, because WB is a corporation, WB is not a person. WB doesn't have any values or any opinions.
Yeah, but that's a myth, right? I mean,
What?
Because there are people at WB that have those values. You know, it's like,
Yeah, but
it's not
their only value is shareholders. That's the only value that any corporation really has at its heart, is does it make money? And so what I'm getting at is that you can't change WB's mind anyway, except saying, hey, don't do this because you're not going to make money doing it. Right.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Whereas when you're talking about here's another example. You know who Brandon Sanderson is?
No.
He's an author. He did the Mistborn series. He's probably the biggest fantasy author next to George R.R. Martin, living fantasy author next to George R.R. Martin. And there's been controversies with him because he's against gay marriage. Because he's a member of the Mormon Church. And so there's plenty of discussion of like, should you read Brandon Sanderson books? I mean, it's a gray area, you know, should you put money in his pocket? But Brandon Sanderson is somebody whose opinions have evolved over time. I would still put him because he's still Mormon, he's still against gay marriage, but he's responded to the controversy, and his opinions have changed over time. Now, I'm not even really a fan of his writing, so again, very easy for me to like make the decision either way. But Brandon Sanderson's a human being who, when we have these conversations, he can change his mind about things. J.K. Rowling could change her mind about these things. She could change her behavior.
She's not going to do that.
She's not going to, but I'm saying that there is at least the potential for that when you're talking about an individual, as opposed to something like a corporation like WB, which it has no brain, has no thoughts, only is really an algorithm that makes money, right?
Right.
And also, as far as I know, people aren't really calling for like a boycott of WB.
This would be a lot easier if it was a shit game like most AAA titles that come out recently. And most WB titles were trash. I mean, I can think of maybe one in the last decade that was any good. Because then it would be even worse. Because people would go, don't buy this shit game because it's a shitty game and it's all these other things. But you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's like because so that's what I would tell people. It's like it is a great game. And if you had 3 or 4 days of ignorance like me, you would have had a blast. You would have had a blast. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just the truth because it's like listen, E equal MC squared. No matter what I found out about Einstein, that's true. It ain't no different equations I can use. I played the game and I enjoyed it. But now I don't enjoy it because I don't want to hurt my friends. I would still enjoy it if I fired it up right now. I would enjoy it. I would. But what I'm saying is, it don't sit easy with me if it bothers, if it hurts people. But here's the other thing. Like I told, this has always been my stance. I'm always so suspicious of. And I guess it's just the way I'm set up. I'm always suspicious of people that want power over me because that's what it feels like. And so I'm always questioning and double questioning and triple questioning in those situations. And I think that's healthy. Whatever conclusions you come to, it does say something about you. It does, but that's up to you. Right? Like you were saying, it's not up to me or you how transphobic or non-transphobic you are. And it's not even up to your trans friends, whether you're in whatever, because you got to live your life in a way that you're comfortable with the results. That like whoever you going to be, when you hit max level, if you're comfortable with who that person is, then live how you living. If it's going to change how you see yourself, or if you're going to feel some kind of way about hurting your friend or making your loved ones feel less supported, then don't do it. Don't play. I mean, there's no wrong answer. There's just true and not and false. There's like true to yourself and not true to yourself. That's all. That's the choice, to me.
Right.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's
And there's. Go ahead. I was going to say that there are trans people who are playing this game, right?
Are there?
And yeah.
Are they live streaming?
I don't know if they're live streaming, but
so if I Twitch stream a trans person that's playing this game, who am I supporting?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say was if you're a trans person who wants to play this game, fucking live your life. I don't give a fuck. Like, you don't know, like, I'm not in any position to tell you that that's wrong or what that means about you as a person because I don't know your fucking life.
I mean, other trans people, they're going to call you a house elf. That's the real scary part. All right, that feels like a good stopping point. Thank y'all for tuning in to BS with Brian Simpson, episode 51. I just came back from Denver with R. Shafir. I got other dates coming up. In fact, you'll be seeing this very soon. This weekend, I will be at Laughs in Seattle. One of those shows is already sold out. Got to get the motherfuckers quick, boy. Then I'm going to be in Colorado Springs on March 3rd and 4th. I'm going to be at the Comedy Zone in Greenville, South Carolina on March 10th and 11th. And I'm going to be in Jacksonville, Florida on the 23rd through the 25th. So go to BrianSimpsonComedy.com to get those tickets. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, you want advice from the Advice Champ, email us at bswithbriansimpson@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out Apocalypse Soon with Eddie Pepitone. Also the Josh Parter Show, which is also on our little fledgling network here. And don't forget the comedyfrequency.com, which is our studios and our producer, one of our co-producers.
The number is 323-451-1980. We also got an email from somebody from New Zealand. Shout out to New Zealand.
Oh, yeah?
Lambasting us because people outside of U.S. and Canada cannot call into that number. So we are going to figure out a way for international callers to not have to pay to send us a voicemail. But in the meantime,
listen, this is real simple, Mr. New Zealand. You record an audio thing and attach it to an email and send it to Brian.
That's literally what I was going to say.
BSWithBrianSimpson@gmail.com. I mean, come on, man. This is 2023. Utilize technology, okay? Or stop being, one of our step countries and. No, that's not. No, I don't mean that. I love actually. We have a lot of international fans that more than I thought. I just looked at the map yesterday. You know how they show you a little map where the most listeners are. Obviously, most of them are still in the U.S. of A. But a surprising amount in Australia and New Zealand. And in fact, I think Australia and New Zealand combined are our most listeners outside of the United States.
Which is right, yeah.
Which is very surprising to me. But yeah,
sounds like you got to go down to Australia and New Zealand for a tour, Brian.
Well, that's okay. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, that's going to happen. But yeah, I advise you just record a message on your phone and email it to us. That's the easiest way to solve that problem. Because yeah.
Cool.
Anything else? Nope.
I think that's it.
Yeah. See y'all next time.
All right. Fuck Terps.